Hey, read through the word. Today is January 15th, and today's lesson is called Timing is Everything. And we are in, I almost said Revelation. No, we're not. We're in Genesis. Genesis 41 through 8 is what I'm going to read. It says, sometime later, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker offended the royal master. Pharaoh became angry with these two officials, and he put them in prison where Joseph was, in the palace of the captain of the guard. They remained in prison for some time, and the captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, who looked after them. While they were in prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker each had a dream one night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph saw them the next morning, he noticed they both looked upset. "Why do you look so worried today?" he asked them. And they replied, "We both had dreams last night, but no one can tell us what they mean." "Interpreting dreams is God's business," Joseph replied. "Go ahead and tell me your dreams." Okay, so that introduces us to this with Joseph and the cupbearer and the baker in the prison. This is our connection story as we are continuing with the story that God's telling us in overall, as God has gone with his in early revelation, that the as he introduced Adam and Eve as image bearers of God, put on this earth, his representative to be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. And then sin takes us down another route, and because they were not obedient to the call that God had placed upon them. But as you continue through the book of Genesis, it is as God is explaining his story and how he works through his people, as we go from one man of Abraham, and we remember Abraham's family: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. And Joseph's story, while as we know, we're about to come up on that reading, but we know that Jesus is not from the line of Joseph. I mean, Joseph doesn't even have tribe. He has two half tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh. But the tribe of Judah will be the tribe that Jesus comes from. But the story of God's people and covenant. So the story of Joseph explains to us how God kept his covenant to a people by preserving their family, and how their family did not die off due to a famine, and how God preserved them through the evil hearts of the brothers of Joseph. So as we look at this story, I want us to see right here, because I know when I read this, and I've told y'all before, Joseph, I love the story of Joseph. Joseph 50:20 is, Joseph 50:20, Romans 8:28, and how those show how God works are my verses, or two of mine. Can't narrow it down that much. But I love the story of Joseph, and for those of you, I love Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat as a musical. I'm a musical buff. I love musicals. My school has done musicals at our school. This year we're doing Oklahoma. I'm so excited. It's probably my favorite. So, I love the story of Joseph. And you're so like, oh man, Joseph. He's like this close so you could get out. And then Joseph he tells them, I can't tell you what your dreams mean, but God can. And let me tell you. And then they walk away like, oh yay, thank you, Joseph. And one of them says, thank you, Joseph. The other one, and goes away and forgets him. So you're like, what in the world? Now, this is one of those. I mentioned this in the Facebook group. Somebody asked, like, how does your day work with read through the Word? And I had a friend ask me, we know you have a crazy life. How does your time work out? So we're talking all about time today. And this section right here could be multiple different lessons, which is what I try to do. Is if I get the same text on a different year, I try to go with a different lesson. But I said how my read through the Word is that so I get up at 4:30 in the morning. And when I get up, I get up that way because the whole cancer thing taught me I have to take care of myself and my health. And so for that purpose, I get up early, and my stress reliever is exercise. So I do that. And then as I'm getting ready, I put the read through the Word on my on the app on my phone, and I play it so it reads to me. And usually, this is the way it works on the way that, like the days that Wendy teaches. And so then I will, as I'm listening, the Holy Spirit will draw something and go, oh, that's interesting, like that to me. And so I'll make a note of what verse that is. At lunchtime at school, I will sit down and read that. And then later, I'll watch the video. And late in the day, after school, probably as I'm getting dinner ready is usually when I do that. And then on the days I am recording, I'm way ahead on those. Well, try to be way ahead. I'm ahead on those. And so my school is not in person on Fridays. And so on Friday and Saturday are my study and write a lesson. And then Sundays, today is a Sunday and I'm recording, typically because I'm ready for church. And so after church, I start recording. And I'm typically per lesson is an hour plus study time for my lesson. And so that's how this works. So this is all about time. And so I want to talk about that a little bit today, about time and what time is. So in Scripture, there are two basic notions of time. There is Kairos time, K-A-I-R-O-S, and there's Chronos time, C-H-R-O-N-O-S. Like what we're doing, chronological, comes from that word chronos. So chronos is just exactly what it sounds like. It is chronological, ordered time, days, weeks, years. And Kairos is God's opportune time, the right moment, the divine intersection of chronos, chronological time, and eternity, God's plan, Kairos. While God's not subject to the limitations of time, chronos, he absolutely works through chronos to bring about Kairos, his right moment, the right moment in time. It is the intersection of time and eternity is part of God's creation that we see in Genesis 1-3, how the idea of walking and talking and movement, all things that require change are things that are walking, and being bound by physical body requires chronos, because you need time to move from one place to another. And the act of moving, physical force of moving your body through space and time is called work. That God has chosen that as part of his creation. Chronos. So he created chronos, but he uses chronos to bring about kairos in our life. the intersection of actual physical time passing and his plan. So at the fullness of time, at just the right moment. So I want us to take those ideas and place it here in the story of Joseph. So, time has passed. He's been thrown in prison. Time has passed. We're not sure. It just says, and it gives us the wording to let us know that Chronos time has passed. Joseph's work was still hard. Joseph's suffering had not stopped. Joseph's circumstances had not changed. He's still in a prison. He's still in another pit. His brothers threw him in one pit, and now Pharaoh's throwing him in, or Potiphar. That's a whole different discussion. Has thrown him in another one. And the cupbearer and the baker are thrown into the prison at the palace of the captain of the guard, which is where Joseph is. Now, this is like, there's anytime you want to say, well, what a coincidence in the Bible. No such thing. You're watching Kairos happen in Chronos time. Kairos happen in Chronos time. So that's what you're seeing here. And you see that Joseph serves them. God places these people in Joseph's path, in Joseph's life, for his purposes. Because God knew it, because God, not bound by Chronos, knew that Joseph's Kairos time was coming. And God was going to use Chronos time to make it happen. God knew that in the Chronos time, that Joseph would, of his plan for Joseph, but he also knew that this cupbearer and this baker had both been, these are not people that were in the outside life of Pharaoh. A cupbearer and a baker were people who would have interacted with Pharaoh multiple times a day. They would have been in his life, a part of his life. They would have heard him complaining. They would have heard everything about life. So God was using these people knowing they would one day sit before Pharaoh. God knew that the Kairos time was coming. He needed Joseph to hold on through the Chronos time till the Kairos time came. And so these men spent all day with Pharaoh. They would hear everything that Pharaoh said, even complaining about not sleeping. God knew that day was coming. And it wasn't Kairos time yet. Kairos time was coming, but we needed Chronos time to pass for Kairos time to come. So God is always, 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 always working. He's always working. It might be that we're so caught up in the Chronos, we're not looking for the Kairos. So what we see here is that God prepares us first through Chronos time, then to use us for his Kairos moments. But I think we're so bent out of shape by the passing of the Chronos time, we're not looking for the Kairos. God's timing is not about doing things according to our timetable. God's not bound by Chronos. And we're looking for the Chronos when the Kairos are the things that really matter. And we're not looking. Because God's timing is always right. His timing is always perfect. I am thankful that God works for the Kairos in my life. Because one day, the Chronos things won't matter. It'll be the Kairos that matters. When I'm on that side of eternity, that's what I'll look back. at all the Kairos moments in my life. So, I hope that's something we can all remember. Don't be so mad about the Chronos. Be more concerned about the Kairos. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.